All right,
Hi,
so
welcome.
let's get started.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Reagan.
And I'm Kristina.
We're so excited to be here with you, and we are grateful for our chance to get to do this with ESGI as well and EdWeb. So let's get into it. Kristina and I are both teachers through and through. Kristina was placed across the hall from me, midway through my teaching. I had just changed states, and I knew someone was going to be across from me. And in comes Kristina, and she is like, we have a pretty significant age gap, but you know how it is with your work friends, like age is irrelevant as long as you click with that person. She's literally everything I'm not as a teacher, but it works so well to have that between us. Hopefully I helped her with my wisdom being so much older, but she gave me the fresh eyes that I really needed at that point to see my students through just a new perspective. So anyway, that's who we are.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be talking about our absolute passion.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking all about building that math community and keeping it alive all 180 days. But who's counting, right? No, but we are. But how that impacts us, and how we as teachers, how we can keep that sustained throughout the year.
So our students really, how we just want that sense of belonging. And really, when we say math community, it's truly just that classroom community. So whether it's ELA or math or whatever the subject, but of course, we're going to be focusing on all things math. So just our students feel that belonging, and then they have that buy-in, because math is not the easiest subject for all students. And so we do need that buy-in from them and that community of support. And so we really want to keep building that throughout the year.
So today our pillars that we're really going to be talking about are to keep that math community strong all year. Our classroom like structures, the routines, being able to what do we do as teachers, and what can we systematically do to keep that math community strong. Then we're going to be talking about nurturing norms, and those are kind of those shared beliefs in a classroom of what's going on. So we're going to be talking about what's that kind of universal idea that we all can have in our classrooms, that you probably already do in your classroom, but just making that more alive and relevant. Then we'll talk about some flexible instruction and how that can help not only our students, but us. And we're going to be specifically talking about ESGI in that section. And then some helpful resources. So we're going to be giving you tools and lots of concrete things that you can take back to your classroom and go ahead and just use right away. So you will see those sprinkled throughout.
All right. So we're going to start with pillar 1, which is our instructional structure. So what framework are we going off of for our math block that gives our students that consistency and that routine, so that they can relax and feel comfortable and let their anxiety go down, so that they can listen and take in more. So you know how our students crave that consistency that reduces anxiety, and then once they know that routine, then they know what is expected of them in that routine.
So for those routines in the classroom, the framework for an effective math block are these 6 little sticky notes that we have there. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of these today, and how they make that math routine just very powerful. But Reagan and I do full day PDs and half day PDs, and we are so passionate about the math block that this is probably like our favorite thing to talk about. So we'll be touching on all of these, but we also love to dig deep and go through all of these in different scenarios. But today we'll be just kind of touching on a lot of them and how they specifically apply to being able to help that math community be vibrant and alive throughout the year.
So our first anchor routine, which is going to be a pillar for our sustaining community, is our math warm-up, which was the very first piece of that framework math block. Now, a math warm-up, we know it as many things: a number talk, a prompt, the application or the setup to the lesson. But the academic gains that we get from that, I think that as teachers, we're pretty comfortable with this. Right now in education, is that we're activating prior knowledge and we're connecting old learning to new learning. And those academic gains are there when we do a math warm-up, which is a prompt or a problem that we put up to have that community discussion and answer it. But what we're really focusing on today is, what does that math warm-up routine do for our students in building that community? And honestly, like I said before, we always want that consistency in our routine, so students know exactly what's happening and what's going to happen next, and what their expectation is within that, so that they can always be aware and be able to meet that expectation. But when our students are doing a math warm-up, so they're responding to a prompt, they may have a turn to come up and be the teacher or to partner, pair, share, whatever it may be. But it's that collaboration where they're sharing ideas and everyone's idea is valid. And then we encourage each other and say, oh, I agree. I was thinking that too. Or I can add to that. I like that idea. And so we're building on each other's ideas and we're learning from each other.
So during the math warm-up, it really is a community of mathematicians coming together. They're able to connect with their peers. They're able to take the content that you have taught maybe yesterday, maybe last week, maybe 4 months ago, maybe, from the very beginning of the school year. It allows them to go deeper and understand that content with new connections to new math content that they're now familiar with. So it really is it just cements the learning really well, and they're able to understand and see the progression through the year. And so that helps with that math community staying alive for the entire year.
And during that math warm-up, students, they have the opportunity to share a strategy or tell a process of how they solved, and they can reason with each other and say, man, I always solved it this way, but I really like what I heard, and that would be an easier way for me to solve that. So they can really gain from each other in ways that, how it is, how they hear each other talk and it just clicks for them. And you've said it 1,000 times in your teacher way of saying it, but it just clicks when your friend says it. So it's just so many great opportunities with that. So we want to share some ideas for math warm-ups that we would do and that we show the students and how they might answer that.
And for you to take these ideas and springboard from them and say, you know what, I can definitely recreate that, or I have something similar, or I can just write this right on my whiteboard or on my, or type it up and put it on the screen, or whatever is easiest for you, or just honestly orally talking about this. There's so many ways, and there's no one right way to do a math warm-up.
You can have manipulatives under the document camera and do the exact same thing. It doesn't, and we encourage a variety of ways to do warm-ups rather than always just, the same way, because variety is the spice of life, especially with children.
Amen. So, gotta, whatever gets you out of bed in the morning as the teacher, right? But no, really, take some of these ideas but just some ways that we love to introduce and work through some math warm-ups. So there's one slide here we're showing, and when we do a math warm-up, we just do one prompt. So you would just see one of these. We're showing you lots of different examples because we want to give you, every kind of idea so that you can get your brain going on math warm-ups for your classroom. But in the classroom, we only do one per day. It's something that doesn't take an extended amount of time. Obviously, it is still powerful, but it's not a very lengthy, part of the math block.
one important note from research on math warm-ups is that we are not doing a math warm-up. It's not today's learning that we're about to do, but it is past knowledge. So it could be yesterday, but it could also be 2 months ago, like Kristina said, because we want to remind students of what we've taught them, and then we want to deepen and solidify it as well.
So here's just some ideas, and a lot of these are open-ended, so there's not just a one answer. It's, how can you connect them? So honestly, what Reagan says about this and how she's connecting some of the pictures to the tally chart to the picture graph there might be different than how I connect them. And that is totally powerful, but also, acceptable and very much needed. And so it's just that power that students have that say, I have an answer, but it might be different from hers, but both of those are correct and valid and useful.
And for our kids who struggle to share, we want to give them like a sentence frame. So I noticed that, or some kind of, where they're just having to fill in a tiny bit. And of course, we're not forcing students to answer, but just maybe whispering it to a partner first so that your partner can be like, yeah, you're on the right track. I like that. Then you feel more confident to be able to share with the class. So we want to share these with you. So that QR code there in the corner will give you a free group of these math warm-up slides for different grade levels for K1 and 2. So if that's something you're interested in, you can scan the QR code with your phone, and then it will take you to that download. And I believe that we also have the link, if you need that they will put it in the chat for you. If you are not a QR code scanner.
We understand. We got you. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice. I've never seen that before.
We're like seeing little like emojis, like thumbs up, and we're like, what is that? Oh, wait, that means good. Okay, great.
So in the very beginning, we're going to talk about 4 pillars, and that the 4th one is going to be a lot of this. We're going to be, the 4th pillar is all this kind of freebie. So
free resources to help you.
Plus you could win that really nice ESGI prize.
Exactly. And on top of that, I know. So
okay.
So the next anchor routine for being able to establish those, having those, being able, for another anchor routine going along with the math warm-up is number fluency. Number fluency is so important for all of our learners, but it is even more so important now coming past COVID, even though I know that was, 6 years ago, but we're still feeling the effects of that. And number fluency is one of the best ways to overcome that deficit within our students. So what are students gaining in number fluency? Well, they're being able to practice counting and automaticity and accuracy. They're also helping to be able to be flexible with numbers and understanding relationships of numbers, and being able to visualize this, or being able to visualize the numbers, being able to understand what is going on with numbers. But it takes thousands of practice hours to be able to get good at number fluency. So we love practicing number fluency every single day within our classrooms. And what does the community get from that math community? And they are more confident in risk-taking. They're able to have their voice be heard. And it also is a math community's voice all coming together. It's very engaging. It's very much 100% participation, because we'll give you examples, because everyone is up, everyone is able to practice. And even our students who are well beyond this skill have a great connection to it. And even our students who are well below this content, they are hearing it over and over again to be able to help them succeed with that number pattern.
So to do a number fluency, you're going to kind of like the math form. You're going to post. We like to use clip art, and then we theme it and have a skip counting rule at the bottom. So some kind of way to move my body and some kind of way to count. Whatever my grade level is, that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Do we need to count up or back, or are we skip counting? Are we doing multiples? I did see a question that went by. Someone asked if we have warm-ups for 4th grade. And yes, we do have K to 5, but we, because we're working with ESGI, we only are showing K to 2 in this presentation. Right? Mm-hmm. But yes, we do have K to 5.
Yes.
And we do have freebies as well for the 3 to 5, but we just don't have them linked up. Anyway, back to this. So number fluency is one of those things that, 1,000 times is not enough. And so this is a way that students love and look forward to doing some skip counting, and they actually want to do it. And it makes it so much more engaging just because there's a piece of clip art and they're moving their body in some way. So we have some examples of that. So we'll just put a slide up and we'll say, well, today we're going to be doing arm circles. And then we just read off whatever the skip counting or counting rule is. And then our students will do it. And just like with the warm up, it's 1 slide per day. Now we might do that same type of counting for that entire day, but multiple times throughout the day. So, as maybe not arm circles for transitions, because we're going to knock people out. But so as we're transitioning from, a station to back to the rug, or from the rug to line up, I will give a skip counting rule or multiples depending on my grade level. And then we'll count it as we do that transition, because it just takes so many repetitions. And the more we can get the brain to have that automaticity with this, the easier the cognitive load is on our students. So when they are doing long computation, we're lightening an aspect of that, because they're like, oh, I know, like if I know my doubles facts, then this is a lot easier for me, because that's a strategy I can definitely use to do a lot of different addition computations. So it's just helping our students to have that accuracy and automaticity. Oh, thanks, Adam. And I meant to say that these students are either our students or they are shared with us from our team teachers or our besties. So we do have permission to share these photos in presentation. So I forgot to say that at the beginning, but thank you. So these are some fun, just examples of different ways to do number fluency.
Yeah, and like Reagan said, just a fun get up and moving. And then with the fluency, counting within a range that's best for your students, or skip counting multiples depending on your grade level if you're practicing the harder multiples for, multiplication and division, or if you are just 2 5s and 10s, whatever's best for you. But it's just getting in that practice every single day, because we know it's so important for our students, but then sometimes we get busy, life happens, and we don't give them that opportunity. And this allows that for teacher to be like, oh yes, okay, this is the time to practice.
So we had a question, is this good for 6th grade? Absolutely, yes. I mean, obviously you're not probably going to want the cute little young clip art. However, you can do, we call it, what do we call it?
When we're like when we're countdown.
Yes, countdown. Yes. So having students stand in the room in a kind of a circle around the desks when they're, like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and then giving them a skip counting rule, whether they're skip counting by decimals or fractions or whatever it might be, or multiples, and they're practicing their multiples. And then there's like a target number. And if you have to say that, if it's your turn, then you sit, things like that, where you just make it fun. Yeah. And they can do that in, you've got 10 awkward minutes before the bell, and you can do that sort of thing.
All right, so our number 2 pillar for sustaining that strong math community is nurturing norms. And so this is having those shared beliefs in a classroom that kind of makes the climate and culture of the classroom the best it can be. And so we're going to talk about some things that we like to do all the time to make sure that our students feel safe, secure, they feel empowered, and just being able to have all the knowledge they need, because math is tricky, like Reagan was saying, and it's something that creates a lot of anxiety in students, and we don't want that.
So before we really get into like when we do this in the math block, we're going to talk about the shared language part of nurturing norms, which is that we are explicitly teaching the academic language of math through vocabulary and through strategy names. And this is a good way for us to remember to actually teach that math vocabulary, because it's one of those things like I sometimes forget because I'm thinking about the actual math lesson and what I need to get across to them. But having that shared language of math is powerful, because when you do have your students responding, they're using that, and that's really helping with them to not be intimidated when they see these words or come across these concepts. They're like, I know that, I use that word. It's not a big deal to me. And a strategy is anything. Literally, like a 10 frame is a strategy, a base 10 block, a manipulative is a strategy, as well as using a formula, as well as going through a procedure. So it's just bringing the language to our students in a fun way, or in a way that is consistent and it's part of the routine, and then they are using that language as well as we are.
So it's those daily opportunities for them to use this language, and they're able to use it in an appropriate and correct way, because it's just part of that classroom where we are communicating with using these vocabulary words. It helps our students who are approaching these skills. It helps our students who are other language learners. It just is a very wonderful way to get everybody, as cliche as it is, on the same page, because we're all using that same vocabulary. What we love to do for that is making it so visual for everyone that it becomes common language. And so we love, beautiful, like fun images there, the definition to break it down of exactly what it is, and then being able to use it in a way when we explicitly teach it, and then when we have students practice it, especially we'll talk about in other ways, but they even utilize this in the math warm-up. They're able to use that vocabulary when they're explaining their thinking.
And to really bring it down for us as teacher, like on the left there, you see the little board. So that was just my board for that unit. And I'm only taking one word off of that ring when we're going to use it that day in the lesson. Just one word, not trying to introduce an entire unit of words, and really just putting it up when it's appropriate and then taking it down when it's not. So it just doesn't become this wall that I no longer am looking at or using or referring to.
Same thing goes with math strategies. If we want our students and expect them to use it, we definitely want to give them the opportunities to see it and like name it and claim it, right? And so having those visuals up on a board, like Reagan said, for the math vocabulary, same thing goes with math strategies. We're not putting every single math strategy that we've ever learned right up there. It's going to be for this unit of study, here's some ideas. And it might be for this lesson, we're talking about this. And so it's just very much targeted and very explicit for that content we're working on. This is also a way that we can differentiate eventually, and talking about how some students can have math strategies that other students aren't yet, doing in their math yet. But just how the power of math strategies and allowing students to have that visual so that they can anchor that to that and say, so when we ask them a question, they can go, you know what? I'm going to do the point and count to be able to know the total number in this set.
And that during that warm up and during those other parts of your math block is when you are not only using these words yourself, but students are able to practice them with their peers and then out loud to the group. So these three, risk-taking, discourse, and perseverance, these three are kind of the big community builders for our nurturing norms. So we've got the shared language, which we talked about. We do that through the vocabulary and the strategies. However, how do we get students to take risks? Because that's scary for most of them. How do we get them to have those important conversations and maybe not always agreeing? And how do we get around that and get them to say, this is how I solved and it's different than how you solved, and that's okay, that's valuable. And then perseverance is a huge one, because we know that when students come to a problem and they really don't know what to do, then they're just kind of, okay, well, we gave it a good try. Yeah. And having them have the skills to persevere through it is something we definitely want, but it is something we have to build within them. So we want to normalize all of these, and we do that best in close proximity to our students. So during that teacher-led small group, that's really when students, they know the support is close and near, but we are going to be tackling some things that are not going to be easy every day. So academically, the teacher-led small group is huge for targeting student needs and giving them that relevant instruction, having the immediate feedback from me. I'm right here and I'm watching you solve and I'm supporting you. And just, of course, alignment of the student need and the actual instruction, which is done best when we can see them working in front of us. But community-wise, this is where we get the biggest bang for our buck, because our students know that we are near and we're continuing daily to build that relationship with them. We might only see our groups 10 minutes each, and maybe not even every day if I'm being realistic, but that 10 minutes is just about one-on-one. I mean, they do get your attention and they do get to interact with you, and they apply the math in front of you, so you're seeing exactly the need. And then that tailors your instruction for the group, because you know what the actual needs are on the content. So it really does make a powerful impact. Students feel like they can take some risks, or they can say, hey, I don't know, but you can do that. We'll give it a try first before you just lay it all out there for them. So at the teacher-led small group table, when students are in close proximity to teacher, perseverance really allows, can happen. And like Reagan already mentioned, that this is really difficult for a lot of our students. A lot of times when they come to something they don't know, they want to guess, cry, break down, give up, all the above. So it's something that we have to work through. And so at the small group table, we can encourage them. It's a slower pace, so we don't have to rush and just get, what's the answer? Okay, great job. Let's move on. We've got things to do. We can sit and talk about it. We can say, okay, well, I can see how you thought that, and be able to break it down and work through it, and maybe why that wasn't the correct path of thinking, or how we can kind of change that way of thinking. And so it allows students to be able to have that kind of idea of, I'm going to try it, even if it is difficult, even if I don't do well, it's okay. My teacher's there to kind of to be my cheerleader, to be my safety net, to be able to tell me that it's okay. Along with that is, we're still in talking about being in teacher-led small group, is the opportunities that we have to actually discuss what we're doing. So in the small group, the teacher is going to model whatever the math practice is that you're doing or that you've taught. You've usually just come from a whole group lesson. You've taught some sort of procedure or maybe a strategy. And then you bring your group to the small group and you say, let's model this again. And now I'm turning it over to you. And so they begin to work. And as they work, we have the chance to, tell me about the steps that you're doing. What did you start with? Why did you think of that first? Just any conversation that we start to have with them, and we see how their thinking is going. And then we can have them talk out those problems, which is really a powerful thing, because a lot of times students will just give you an answer, but they truly don't know how they got there or why. They just know, well, that's how you do it. And that's what I've done here, you know? And so it is great because you can say, well, tell me why. And then it builds on perseverance as well. Oh, that's why that worked. Okay, well, then I can apply it to this too. And I just never made that connection.
And it really does have students wanting and really kind of craving that risk taking. And so a lot of our students, they don't want to because fear of failure, but this really does kind of bring that anxiety down and allows them opportunities with the teacher to say, you know what, if I don't get it correct, and you know, I'm not going to get a bad grade on this. I'm just working with my teacher. It's okay to make a mistake, and it's okay for me to try something new that I've never done before or that I don't think I can. And so we really do kind of are working on that growth mindset. So following along with the nurturing norms, following up from that small group instruction, well, students who aren't working with us are out working on student workstations, and that might be called centers or stations or math rotations, whatever you call them. But it's where students are out actively doing math. There are insurmountable academic gains in that, you know, they're practicing, they're doing authentic, pure math when they're out there, they're having the hands-on experience, they're using tools appropriately, so many great academic things. But today we are focusing on, well, how does that help our community? And with our students, it's allows for collaboration, for cooperative learning, which is a huge skill for social emotional learning, for students to be able to work collaboratively with other peers. They share the responsibility. They're able to use kid-friendly language. They're able to be social creatures that we naturally are. And so having students out and being able to work in workstation time gives students the power, and now takes that from that they've learned with risk taking and math discourse, and being able to persevere, and it puts it into action, and they're able to do that now through their work.
And, you know, along with cooperative learning, we do have a couple questions we will answer. It's not perfect every day. And we can walk into a classroom having presented on this for 13 years and done it ourselves for 20 some years and still have, you know, breakdowns in it, because humans are messy and we have different personalities. And when you put us together, you know, some days are going to be absolutely amazing, and then others are not. And that's okay. And it doesn't mean that you've done something wrong or that you haven't, you know, set up the most explicit, wonderful expectations, but just to remember that collaboration is something that we work on through our entire lives, how we work with other people. So you're putting money in the bank of teaching that while you have them. And it's okay if it's not perfect. And it's okay if it's a little messy or it's a little loud. We work on that together. We come together and go, man, we've got this problem. Can you help me fix it? And as a community, we are going to fix this. I am so happy that y'all are asking questions and things like that. So I saw a question. Oh no, now I'm not remembering it. But
it's okay. I think we'll go through, and then if there's some, and then if not, we're definitely going to be giving our information as well.
Yes, we are.
So feel free to reach out to us at any time. But we will definitely. We want y'all to get your answers to your questions for sure, all of them.
All right. So the third pillar for us is on flexible instruction. And flexible instruction means that I am reacting or I am planning for the differences that I see day to day. So when I do see a gap or a misconception in small group, then I know, like, oh, I've got to figure out, if I didn't nip it that day and it wasn't a quick little procedure fix, but rather there's a gap there, a missing prerequisite skill, then that's going to again, tailor my instruction. So just being aware and flexible and, knowing like, here's the plan and the pacing that I must keep, but I do need to address these certain things so that we can be as successful as we can.
Yeah, definitely reactive and being able to, proactive and reactive, both for formative assessments. What we want to have is being able to notice and then have immediate and relevant feedback for our students. And so we can, through our observations, through assessments, through quizzes, and we'll talk about all of these, both formal and informal, how we can see our students. And then that drives us for what are we going to plan for next? Or how are we now going to pivot from one math concept to another. And so what we love to do is one way, an easy way is having a lesson reflection at the end of a lesson and really seeing how students have digested that information. And so it allows for evaluation, metacognition, that thinking about their thinking. It is a quick check on students. And so we do this in in varied ways, sometimes with exit tickets, sometimes with a slide, very, similar to a math warm-up, but it's a lesson closure, or where students are able to synthesize with a partner and kind of a pair share kind of idea.
So we want to talk about how ESGI can help us with this as well. And really it will level us up to a new frontier. But ESGI is online assessments, if you're not familiar with it, and it is something that you can pull up digitally and have your students answer, and you're clicking like, yes, they answered it correctly, or no, or filling in notes if you want to take notes on something that they did, and it immediately is going to collect that data for you. And that is really powerful for being able to tailor your instruction. So formative assessments, obviously that's going to be like how I'm observing and kind of my anecdotal notes daily. But formal assessment, where I'm truly saying, let me see, I have this checklist of skills and today we're going to check this one. They're so quick, but you're going to have that real-time data. And so it's going to clarify your learning goals and center you to the instruction that your students most need, which is going to impact them, of course, greatly. So inside ESGI, there are already 2,500 plus assessments that are in there. And you also have the ability to create your own. And we're talking minutes to do this, because you can pull from something and then but I want a question on this. You can quickly put that in, and then you can assign it to your student or to your whole class or whatever you need it to do. But these pictures are of students using Total Math, which is our K-2 curriculum. And so the teacher is just having them do those questions. It tells them on the bottom of the screen what to have them do. And then, some of them might require paper, some of them it's more oral, whatever it might be. But you can try it for free if you are interested in that, with the QR code there or the link that we typed under the picture. And even if you want this for literacy, this isn't tied to us or tied to math, but you can get in for free today using that code.
Yeah, just for being here with us. So like Reagan said, the QR code will take you there. The URL will take you there. Or if you just go to ESGI, if you're like, I don't remember, and then it says like, I want it, like, be able to sign up for free, and then it is, and then guided math is the promo code for today from this session. So taking from ESGI, it really helps to navigate and help create those small groups. So you can look at the data and say, okay, all these students are really lacking in this skill, or this is my group. What is their main focus? What should it be? And so that is a huge thing for teachers. And then also another like saving grace is that ESGI, with those with that data that it pulls up, it will generate parent letters for you, easy to read things, so you can send it home to parents that they can understand and see how their child is progressing. Like Reagan said, in any content, but we're specifically talking about our content that's on there, Total Math and Guided Math. But it instantly will have those available for you, so you can send it out, and it's also in different languages. I mean, it's just so incredible for teachers to take a lot of that burden off of us, to be able to communicate with home.
So as soon as you hit submit, like the test is over, the little checklist that you were doing, it's going to generate all of this automatically. So you're saving a ton of time, because you're not having to then like, which ones did they miss? Which ones did they get correct? It's already inputted. And so it's like, it's got charts and graphs and whatever you want, whatever format you need.
Whatever like that you love. Yeah.
All right. So, they all shifted a little. Okay. So this is kind of the closure to the big three pillars. The fourth pillar, again, was all those freebies we're about to give you. But we want to have a consistent routine, that framework that students know is going to be there, because that's going to relax them. It's also going to give them the knowledge of, I know what's coming next, and I know how to behave during that time. Then we want to have the nurturing norms. That's where we have that, close-knit, teacher-led time. We're interacting with them. We're giving them our full attention. We're nurturing the bonds that they have with each other, as well as our teacher-student bond. We want to have the ability to plan and target the student needs that that we see, and be proactive and reactive to what we're seeing around us, so that we can give them the best success possible. And then, of course, we are truly the ones putting the culture and climate of community in the room and making it a big priority. Yes, us as teachers, not me going into your room, no, but us in our own rooms, being the facilitator of that and making that the highest priority, so that they know, like, we get along first and we tackle things second. Like, we are a community that works together. All right. So
our fourth and final pillar of sustaining a strong math community throughout the school year are helpful resources. So free tools, free ideas, free things to take that are concrete that you can take back to your classroom, and be able to use or springboard off of, and say, oh, definitely I can take that idea and change it up a little bit, and this is how I'm going to do it in my classroom. Because we know like teachers are masters at that, of taking one idea and taking it and creating something new out of it.
We would run across the hall, what are you doing for this today? And then and finally we're like, what if we actually just wrote them down and put them in one place and not have to run across the hall and go, what is your warm up today?
Yeah.
Here are some free vocabulary cards.
Right before was the free fluency.
Sorry,
and so the QR codes will take you directly to that link, and you can just download it. But I know we are going to be giving you the links as well. So don't panic if you can't, or if you want to snap a picture or screenshot it, or whatever is best for you to do this later, to be able to get this. But then free vocabulary words to get you started, or add to your math vocabulary wall that you already have.
And these are specific to K1 and 2, and they focus on that building community. So, but there's also some other words in there because we love it.
Yeah. And then some free graphing lessons for K1 and 2 as well. And
this one, it has the normal graphing lesson, but we also threw in a candy heart because Valentine's is coming up. So you can substitute or do both, but it's got a candy heart graph as well.
Yeah.
So
because we love that.
We love seasonal. I'm telling you, variety is the spice of life. Yeah. If we were excited to go to school, then our students are going to love it. And be excited too.
And then free geometry lessons as well. So with stations and lessons and warm-ups,
number fluency.
We
tried to time it with things that you might be teaching right now. I know every district and region is different, but for us, these are the relevant lessons, which is why we were catering it to those things.
And then free strategy posters. So going along with that common language. And so the math vocabulary, but then also the math strategies. And so we have free math strategies for you that you can. And yes, we have the QR codes there that you can scan, or we will be giving you the links to all of those.
So while we're doing Q&A, I think Kristina or I could switch places with you, and I can go grab the actual links and put them in the chat so you can click on it live like that. I think that might be the fastest way to do this. All right. So here is our contact information as well. So if you still can't get the links.
Yeah. If you're like, I just can't, I know EdWeb does a great job of sending links and all of those great things. But if you specifically have a question for us or that we can help you with, we would love to. Or if you have a question about ESGI, we can try to answer that. And if we don't know the answer, we will get Adam or one of our other wonderful people who know, great things about it. We can help you with that.
Right.
But honestly, we're there. Our email specifically right there.
Okay.
So like I mentioned at the beginning, our passion is math, effective math instruction, and being able to how to sustain that for the entire year. But Reagan and I do math professional development for different conferences and districts and schools, and we would love to be able to come out to, if this is something that you're interested for your team, for your school, for your district, for multiple schools, whatever that looks like. We are certified for continuing professional education as providers. And so we offer half days and full days, virtually, in person, like whatever your needs are. So we would love that. You can email us and we'll give you information about that. Or if you need, being able to know research and different things for administrators, you can definitely do that.
All right. So
all right. Awesome job, ladies. I mean, I knew that I wasn't going to be disappointed, but fantastic ideas. And we saw in the chat too that people were flooding it with yes, yes, yes. Awesome ideas. This makes me, so I know I'm not in the classroom right now, but I do teach and tutor pre-K through fifth graders, and so many things I want to take and use with my students that I'm tutoring right now. So thank you for doing that. There were some questions that came in. One of them very specific to a slide. So I want to bring that one up first. So the question was related to slide 23. If one of you wants to swap back there or check that to make sure you know what we're talking about. And the question related to that slide is how long does this take and how does that work in a virtual environment? So how much time are you spending on that and how does it work in virtual? So yeah, your anchor routines with number fluency, those types of things. How long are you spending on this? And then how does something like that work in a virtual teaching environment?
Yeah, for sure. So when we do, we talk about what the math block looks like for all teachers, and we break up our math block into specific components, and we briefly talked about those components on one of the slides. But our warm-up time is about 10% of our math block, so it varies depending on how long you have for math, and so you kind of take your minutes and add it all up. So we're talking about anything that counts as your math minutes. So sometimes people have, they do some, students are working independently and doing intervention or whatnot, and that's all specifically math, and we throw that in with the math. So we take that number. It ranges when we present to teachers and work with teachers, it ranges typically in 45 minutes up to an hour and a half. That's usually for the United States. That's a wide range, but it usually falls somewhere in between 45 minutes to 90 minutes.
I would say most would be around an hour, but or 75 minutes. Anyway, I roughly would use about 10 minutes for a warm up, and the number fluency is even faster because you really are just skip counting something and then it's over.
Yeah, and
you
I
could
really
do it a couple times, but really it's very quick.
Yeah, and I throw that in with the math warm up.
Yeah,
and so
they're kind of together.
They're kind of are together, and I kind of lump that into again. It's 10%, but like Reagan said, in Texas we have 90 minutes for math, so that's around 9-ish minutes. That's why we're saying like 10 minutes.
And a lot of times the math warm up, it may go more quickly, but once in a while you'll have one that sort of is turning into a mini lesson, and that's okay. Like if it's really organically good and you haven't done that for a couple of weeks, go ahead and let it go where it needs to go. And it can be longer. Like, I'd say no more than like 15, getting close to 20. That would that's basically your lesson now.
Yeah.
But once in a while, I think that's very valuable because the students are really grappling something. However, on a day-to-day, I definitely would keep it short, 5-10 minutes.
You're right. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then kind of tied in with that, your warm-ups, but any of your other stuff too. Any tips, ideas, strategy you have for using this type of stuff in a virtual learning environment?
Virtual, yes, definitely. With a lot of these, the way we create them are in a digital format, so they can be shown up on a screen and have students be able to do that activity and be able to see that, or show it and then explain what they're going to do. So a lot of our things we love to do is in a virtual kind of way.
I mean, I would definitely I have everyone standing up and participating, but in their own home, obviously. But building community is a little more difficult when you are not together, which is why we even come together to do a presentation that we could both be doing in, at our own homes or schools, but it's just more community building, just being together. So that is tricky when it comes to virtual instruction, is building a community that meets online,
right? But I think with those norms of having the shared language and constant routines in a classroom, I think that will create a sense of community.
Very cool. Awesome. Jane asked if you have any information that you can provide now, or maybe point her or others towards on how you go about organizing small math groups.
That's what it was. Yes. We have a blog or a website. It's called Tunstall's Teaching Tidbits. So the name, how it's like, me in 2016. Well, that was me in 2016. Naming it, just obnoxious name that now I live with every day.
Every day.
But
that's what I know you by.
Yeah, I know.
Can't change it.
Can't change it now. But Tunstall's Teaching Tidbits, I apologize. That is our website, and you can type anything in the search. Like you can do like small group or schedules or anything, any keyword like that, and it will find those blog posts. Or on the blog, you can also email us directly, and we can lead you to the right place or give you the information.
And when we do have an entire day and not just 45 minutes to an hour, we do get into the nitty-gritty of what does that look like? How do you make your groups? How often do you see your groups? What timing? All of that. We wish we could. We talk fast. We know we do, because we wanted to give y'all so much information in just an hour. But that one we just can't talk about in the hour.
Yeah, no, I just went to the website, typed small group math in the search bar, and 3 blog posts, more than that, but 3 right at the top of the screen popped up. So I put the link there in the chat, everyone, that takes you to my search. But again, their website, search that, whatever you need. It's like a rabbit hole of stuff you can go down right there.
Yes.
Regina asked about older students. I know we focused today on like the pre-K through 3. Do either of you have experience with or suggestions for older students? She said the high school teachers in their area or district are struggling with students that just don't know their basic math facts.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we do intervention with 4th and 5th, and even then, that gap just gets so much wider each year, it feels like. And so I can only imagine
as you get up in the old,
I'd be completely transparent. I I do not personally work with students above 5th grade. So I don't know how much I can share with that, except that prerequisite skills, giving them the opportunity to do things that are below that grade level, and it's okay to be able to work on that and get comfortable with that. But honestly, I don't have a ton of experience or knowledge, and I'm not familiar with that age group, but just taking it from a 5th grade
standpoint. Yeah, for sure. And we have worked with teachers who have been in our sessions before that do teach middle school and high school or junior high or whatever you call it, but all the way up to, 12th grade. And so taking these ideas, and they have to modify it somewhat because of their schedule, but how small group instruction really has changed their way of teaching, because our students are well below grade level, a lot of them now, with basic skills. And so we taking and being able to have that small group time with them to be able to fill in those holes, build, bridge those gaps between their learning. And so I think this structure is beneficial, in what we've heard from other teachers who are in the high school realm.
So if I'm in a group of 4 to 6 to maybe 7 or so, but it's similar needs, then that is going to, again, help them relax and get that help that they need. And you may only get to meet with them once a week, if I'm, realistically, depending on the block and how it's scheduled out. But that, over a school year's time is going to really add up. So it may feel like you're barely pushing the needle, but it's going to be, if it's consistent, it's going to help in the long run. It's going to be worth the time and effort. Thank you so much for you guys. I know we're probably going over. I don't know in time. Yeah.
No. This is great. Everybody is loving the information. It's coming in. It's good to see. There was a question about ESGI that I'll kind of throw in there, because I know they touched on some things. So Regina asked about removing questions. So y'all, if you do that free trial, which I'm telling you, you don't have to enter a credit card, nothing.
Yeah,
As a teacher that's used ESGI since 2012, I know that kind of dates me. I've used it for a long time. I still use it even though I'm not in the full public school classroom. I use it in my tutoring program. There is so much more than the little bit that we could touch on today that you can do inside ESGI. And every single test in the system, there's 3,700 plus tests now. It has grown and grown and grown so much. Every single test, whether you create it or not, is editable in some way. So on a test inside Test Explorer, if you pull up a test, like I'm a kindergarten teacher and I'm assessing students on shapes, and the test has 2D and 3D shapes in it, and I don't need to assess them on 3D shapes. Well, I can click a button to preview the test, copy the test, make it my own, and then remove the questions that I don't want. So that I'm only assessing what I specifically need to assess with my students without having to recreate the wheel and start from scratch. So that's something good to know, is all of that in there can be done with that free trial. So if you can, there's that QR code right there. That QR code will take you straight to the link that will get you signed up. If that's not working for you, you don't have time to scan that today. If you just head to esgisoftware.com, click free trial up in the top corner, and enter the code guided math in the promo code, that's going to get you a 60-day free trial. So you get 60 days. That'll take you through quite a bit of the rest of the school year. Not quite the end, but 60 days to try it all out for free. And everything that Reagan and Kristina mentioned, the stuff I just mentioned, you have access to all of that in your free 60-day trial. And I know they both mentioned the parent letters, the reports you can use. I'm telling y'all, there is nothing better. Like, my district adopted ESGI as our report card. That's how good it works. Like, we use it as a report card in kindergarten. So make sure you check it out, scan that link, or head to the website, enter that promo code to get signed up for your free 60-day trial. Kristina, Reagan, it's so good to see you both. I know it's been a long time. I appreciate your knowledge, your expertise, but even more so your passion for this. It shines through in the way you speak about it. And I know there were discussions about excitement and kids coming to school. And I think You hit it best when you said, like, these types of things, when we're excited to teach what we're teaching, kids are going to become excited to come to school, right? And that's true. Like, if you're putting the passion in there, kids are going to see it and they're going to respond to that. And you two definitely show that. So thank you both for all the information, all the strategies. I know there are things I'm going to use when I'm healthy and back with my tutoring students. But yeah, thank you both so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having us.
And thank you all teachers for being here. We
Yes.
appreciate it.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks.